path, was there a moment that this path that was not necessarily a path that was chosen became obvious to you? Was there a moment at
Do
which...
you want the reality?
Absolutely.
I applied for Mayo, guys, and got admitted in Mayo. But that time, Bharat Singh Shekhawat ji was Chief Minister of Rajasthan and Chaudhry Devilal ji was former Deputy Prime Minister. So they both got into a conversation and said that in Rajasthan there is a good fight between Jats and Rajputs. So it's better not to send him to Mayo. And I think that was the first step. I feel happy I went up the hills. And I think that changed my life. If I was have been in Mayo, it would have been totally different today. But yes, going up to Sanar and spending those good 8 years from lower 3 to upper 6 changed my life a lot.
Excellent. And that was a choice that brought you to Sanar. And from Sanar onward, you charted a wonderful path into politics, becoming the youngest deputy CM. What about Sanar took you to that path and allowed you to chart your own path?
So Sanar taught me a lot of things, from the hockeys to the rods. I think every step of my life today which I spend teaches me that how a school can change your life. You cannot be a soft boy sitting in a good school and then you don't see the hard times of life coming in front of you. I think playing the games in barn field or green field or the small field, I think every step we spend there playing cricket, hockey, basketball, or going up to Barnfield for the athletics, and then spending your time there and just thinking, which medal do I get? It's better you are a tall, big guy. Let's play shot put and discus. At least 10 points you are there on the chart. So yes, every step of life, and especially the teachers there, helped us learn a lot of things. I think without them, it wouldn't have been possible to spend those 8 years there. And I think we had lovely headmasters there, which from basic Sanarian food, they formed a committee, and when Headmaster Andrew was there, we could get good chicken and paranthas for our meals there. So I think that was a change in our lifetime we saw in Sanar. I think everybody must have seen little changes, but Sanar changed a lot. We never had fans when we went into Sanar, but when we left Sanar, every bed had a fan on its own. So these are the changes, I think, which the new generations are now seeing with new fancy furniture coming in. But I still remember those iron beds with broken mattresses you need to sleep on. And then you get a shower after 2 days. So I think everybody has enjoyed that time in Sanar.
Thank you so much.
When I'm asked that what was my training, or what did I do, or what's my skill set today, I always, and this is not because I'm sitting here, I've said it in many, many forums across the world, that every part of my creativity, every part of my discipline to be able to run an organization, to be able to face the world, started on that hilltop. And that's absolutely true. I was never a great academic girl. Everybody knows that. I just about made it through. Between Mrs. Mundkur and Mrs. Khan and B. Singh, they were always on my case to at least, get through the classes. But what always kept me going was the fact there was this extracurricular activities. I was there. We used to have something called, I don't know if it still happens, we used to have something called really silly, called body snatching, if anybody remembers that, during Founders. And I would, line up and want to be part of every little creative aspect, whether it be the play, whether it be the dances, whether I was good at it or not, didn't matter. I just needed to participate. Sorry? Thank you so much. Yes, I know. And we did the plays, and those were fantastic. And never forget, Shomi Das never let me come to Delhi to perform. Why? Because we had the 12th boards. So, that was so much for discipline. But the fact that I run today is called event management. We run a wedding design company. We do weddings across. What led me here was just together shook it up and then created something known as event management. What brought me here today was not the fact that, I was the best at it. Until today, I don't say that. I have a team that's very young in the office. And when I hire somebody or when they come in to bring to my life or to my organization, because I only know this much. The world has moved beyond all the students today, all the children today. And that's, I think, been this thirst of knowledge, the curiosity that they talked about. That is really, it's been instilled since we were in school. The curiosity, the fact we were part of a team, we were part of a community. Until today, that's what works for me. And the fact that my entire team is somebody that are people that are mine, somebody that I feel responsible for, somebody that I have empathy for.
My question again, for you guys would be, what is that one incident that happened after? Okay, something that happened in your career path, which was like that wow, aha, game-changing moment for you.
I won't say it was a game-changing moment, but I had when I was in upper five, finished my upper five, then you had to choose a stream. You want to choose sciences or commerce or what you want to be. So I was confused whether I want to go into medicine or I want to go into engineering. So I ended up taking mathematics and biology. And gradually over the period of 2 years, I lost interest in mathematics and I was more towards biology. But in my exams, finally in my exams, pre-boards, I flunked my math. And I remember my teacher was Mr. R.P. Gautam, and talking to one of my friends and something who's going to get above 90, who's not going to get above 90, or some conversation like that. He said, I'll shave off my mustache if Batra gets above 90. And I heard that and I knew I could do it. I wanted to work hard and I wanted to do well in maths. And coming holidays, I really worked really hard and I ended up getting the highest in maths. I got the Yashpal Chaudhary medal for highest in mathematics.
Wow.
But this was not it. Later, in India, when you finish your 12th standard, that is upper six, and when I went into my MBBS, first MBBS, the gap is too much. It doesn't look like that you've been promoted 1 year. It's like you've been promoted 5 years. It becomes that difficult. And we were the All India candidates. By the time we got admission and all, we were already into the course and we were lagging behind by 3 or 4 months. My first exams, I didn't perform very well. But second exams, I performed even worse. So much so that my seniors wrote me off saying that, iska first year pass nahi hoga. He's not going to pass. And then again, then you think, I have done it before. I've been in a circumstance like this before and I can do it again. So I worked really hard and these things were in my mind, what had happened with me before. So, I did well and I could get a distinction in anatomy that year.
Awesome.
Later. So, it was these, these things which were ingrained in me from Sanar, which I feel really helped me. If I may take one more, if I may say one more thing, I remember when I joined Sanar, I was from Agra, so I was 11-year-old and I had no idea what athletics are. And first time when we were introduced to the idea of athletics, and my prefect asked me that, what events do you want to choose? I had no idea what these events were. So anybody who did not know what they wanted to do, they were straight away put in 8, 15, 3. That is 800 meters, 1500 meters, and 3000 meters. And then I didn't qualify for 800, I didn't qualify for 1500. Then the same prefect, Aditya, he came up to me and said, do one thing. You don't look up. You look down and just keep running. If you complete the race and you keep running, you're going to qualify. And that's what I did. Yeah. And I qualified. So, and I keep this with me till today. You just keep doing your work. Don't look around. Just cut the, extra noise and just keep doing your work and you will succeed in what you want to do.
So well said. I think truly it is like the 3,000-meter race. There is so much noise and negativity in the world today. Kaan band karo, aankh band karo, bas bhago, go forward. I think that's so valuable. Janat Singh, yesterday when we were speaking, you said that in your life, in your career, in the forces also, you had so many instances, where the never given moment, really came into play. Do share some of those with the audience as well.
Gaurav, he was speaking to me yesterday, but I'm more intrigued and I'm actually wondering if I should walk off because once I've said it that Tarun, it was a deja vu moment. And I want to ask myself that, is it because there are 3 Shwalikans here, someone non-Shwalikan was saying. But when Gaurav asked me this, and in the break someone asked me, it's not about what you've achieved. There are people more intelligent than me, There are people who should have gone higher. I feel it was just luck, but it was luck because of keeping your head down. And if I ask myself, what is it you can pass on? Someone said that some excerpts may be played for students who are at that stage where it matters. At the autumn of our life, it doesn't matter. It's hindsight and no one else is interested, frankly. But if it is something to pass on, it's not about what I did. It's about something they may learn from, which is more of an incident. I remember my Vandana and me were same class. People may remember in our time, 10th and 12th marks put together were less than how much he just said he got. The batch junior to me was All India topper, Anand Sarup Pathak. He got, I think, 60%. And between Ravni and me, we used to always be competing who got higher. And if he got 58 or 60, it was, unheard of. So 10th boards came and it was a reality check and I got only 58% and I was quite upset. And now 11th. But what happens in between NDA exam came? So my father, like a good Fauji, took 2 months annual leave, got me put into New Sachdeva PT College at Defense Colony. Took my sisters away and went to Meerut. My grandparents were staying in Delhi, Basant Vihar. My grandfather was casualty in 62 war, so he was mostly on his bed. So I used to say, Bade Papa, main ja raha hu class ke liye. You caught 602 number bus and instead of getting off at Def Call, you went to Archana Theatre. We must remember it was black and white TVs, 1979. No color TV, Chitrahar is all we saw, no mobiles, no computers, no nothing. So that was entertainment. But a takeaway there. One day it was night class, next day morning class. We didn't do our homework and everyone was put on the mat. One boy from behind said, Maine kara hai. So he gave the correct answer. And the teacher, naturally, class of 60, coaching class, was very angry and he said, how could he do it? So everyone said, sir, time nahi mila. He said, tum kahan rehte ho? And he was Yamuna Par, he used to stay. He says, 3 bus pakad ke, badal ke main jata hu. He said, phir tumhe kaise time mila? Nahi mila. And that boy and I, some impressionable things you remember. And that boy said, sir, mere ko ye naukri bahut zaruri hai. Maine raat ko khana nahi khaya, nahi to mere ko neend aa jati. I don't know, I never met him since. But if it was enjoyment, you can understand what happened. I failed my ND exam. My classmate Harinder Chahal passed. He became 6 months senior to me. And I was asking him, Niku, if you're there, I'm going to be speaking about you. We were both in Ambala, dads posted together, and he goes to NDA. Then Birinder Dhanwa and me appeared. We both passed. But second time, I kept telling my dad, send me permission letter to come home. He didn't. That time I had 2 months to study. He came 1 week before the exam. He came up, he says, are you serious? Then get into the car with me. And he won't, why are you looking up now? Papa, I have to go to the bathroom. Okay. And then, why aren't you studying? Second time it was 4th All India UPSC merit. So, it taught me. And this was only NDA. My mother was she had a burst appendix, DI list, so I got special permission to join a month late. You go there thinking you're cat's whiskers a month late. The CGPA I passed out with in first term, you are not retained in NDA anymore at that CGPA. So that was a very quick reality check. But your second term is half your improvement, 1/3 your improvement, 1/4 your improvement. So I passed out around 200 out of 400 in my passing out merit and reached IMA. You start afresh. There was a personal incident which happened. I would narrate it later. But it ended up that I was okay in the first few in merit. What was that reality check? Then you studied for staff college. I failed the first time. Next time ended up coming first at Wellington. When I said it from a personal experience. You don't get defined by your yesterdays. You may be a funny Khan, that's the term our platoon commander, very lovable person, late Colonel B.K. Sinha used to say. You stupid bloody idiot, you think you're a funny Khan? So what he meant was, essentially, we are not defined by yesterdays, that persistence, resilience, every day is a new start, and please prove yourself every day, and keep your head down. Why I was saying this was the next example, but I'll finish it now. We were in our second term and it was a unique situation. 3 Sanarians in IMA, which has about 1,500 cadets at a time. All 3 Sanarians in the same battalion. Now, since Chahal was 6 months senior to us, he was the senior most appointment in the battalion. Battalion under officer, BUO. There was another Armored Corps officer, Mickey Baba, he was BCA. BCA is, okay, one of those 4 BCAs and 4 BUs in the 4 battalions. Each battalion has 2 companies. And Birinder and me are in McTillop company. We are having dinner. And next morning is a 10-mile run. It's with full big pack. and a rifle and you run 10 miles, and it's a very most important points-wise for the battalion competition. So in the middle of dinner, and we used to all sit together every time, a message came, the battalion commander, Brigadier Ravi Malhotra, 71 Armored, wants to speak to all of you, second termers. So we all trudged out, and BC and BUO took charge and said, sir, they're all here. So he said, look, I don't care who comes first and second between Mektila and Naushera, but the first two positions have to be yours. This competition will get us the annual thing. So everyone was quiet. Now he said, now who's going to come first tomorrow? So, and I used to enjoy cross country, like Hodson's taught us that thing. But in IMA, in NDA, when people run, there are about 3,000 running. And first 15 get medals, and I never got a medal. I was always 16, 17, 18. So what I want to say is, you don't have to be a gladiator. You just keep your head down and keep running.
Your inner compass was clear, all right? But the path on how to really go ahead and act on it was, a little uncertain. And just wondering how, sir, did you proceed at that time?
Thank you very much. Sonal, I must thank him for provoking the discussion with myself. He asked so many questions, and choose one out of 4. And I chose 2, and you asked me the second one first. Oh, it sounds the same, actually. So I'll say why. You asked me that when one is a small person in a large system, and one doesn't know how to make the right thing happen, what does one do? So I'll go back to when I was with Tatas, actually. And I was very young, I was 37 or 38, and I was made a director of the largest company in the group, Tata Engineering, Tata Motors. And I found myself on the board. And my first board meeting, before that, the papers for the board meeting were circulated to all the directors, as the usual practice is. And I didn't agree with a resolution that was being put to the board 2 days later. My boss, the chairman, Sumant Mulgaonkar, a legend in industry building in India. Another person on the board was G.R.D. Tata himself. And the third person, the deputy chairman, was none other than Nani Palkhiwala, most eminent lawyer of the country. And I think even now he's a legend. He is the person who defended in the very famous case, Bharti case, 13 judges of the Supreme Court's largest bench that met. And they decided that there's some things about the Constitution, the fundamental structure, the basic structure of the Constitution, which even Parliament cannot violate. And Nani Palkhiwala was arguing about the fundamental rights of human beings. That's there in our basic structure of the Constitution, and even Parliament cannot overrule them. So here was I disagreed with a resolution, and what was it? There were 2 of them, actually. My company, Tata Motors Telco, the whole country was going through a recession. And so we were also, stuck with not enough cash, and profits were low. So there were 2 resolutions. One was to pay the same dividend to shareholders as had been paid the previous 2 years. And the other was to cut down the bonus that was going to be paid to the workers, because, it's hard times that they're going to tighten their belt. And I just disagreed. So I told my boss, Sumant Mulgaonkar, I said, sir, I don't know what the behavior, one is, I suppose, on a board supposed to agree with whatever has been proposed officially by the chairman. But my conscience says this is not right. And he's a great man, Sumant Mulgaonkar. He said, but Nani Palkhiwala has drafted this resolution. And Nani Palkhiwala is the man about human rights and very clear about rights and laws. You please argue with him, because it's going to go to the board the way it is, or any way that he might agree to change it. So I met Nani Palkhiwala, sent to his office privately. And you can imagine me, people were talking earlier today about their first interview. We all have those experiences, but here was I before this legend, saying I disagree with you on a matter in which people think you're the world's expert. He said, what's the problem? I said, sir, I know the company is going through hard times, and so therefore we have to reduce outgoings, but why are we keeping the dividend for the shareholders the same and reducing the bonus for the staff? Because to my mind, the staff are sweating 24/7. That's their only source of income, including the bonus levels. And if it's reduced, their lives are going to get affected. Shareholders, many of them have some shares here, some shares there, and they've got other sources of income possibly. So what? They can afford to take a cut, take the hard times of the company. The workers cannot. He discussed it with me, he listened, and he said, you're right. But now what shall we do? So next day at the board meeting, 2 days later, J.R.D. Tata had heard that this young pipsqueak me was objecting to what the Tata board was deciding. And he said, next resolution, hey, by the way, before we start, he said, this new board member, welcome him. He disagrees with what we're going to do, gentlemen. So Nani Palkhiwala said, this was the disagreement, and he said, I agree with Myra. I modified the resolutions here. I won't tell you what the answer was. But this is where I felt that. If you, deep down in you, believe there's some injustice to the weaker people, you better stand up and speak for them.
I mean, such a powerful share, right? And this is standing up to, I mean, the legends of Indian industry, and thank you for doing, what you did at that point. Rajiv, I'm going to come to you next. And, this is going to be, again, pertaining to leadership responsibilities. As they started expanding for you in your career, did your understanding of, success and personal achievement, and when did that start, shifting towards stewardship of people, of institutions, and what started changing internally for you as you were, moving up the ranks?
Hello, everybody. Thanks for that excellent question, and it really brings back a lot of memories to me. But I think it's also, leadership is also defined in the context of the type of work we do. And different systems require different forms of leadership. So maybe a little bit about the sort of work that I do, and therefore to put it into context. So a lot of the work we are doing is around sustainable development, but boiling down to simple things of how to save forests, how to save water, how to bring more incomes to the rural poor, generally trying to affect from all sides. So it's education, health, agriculture, governance, and they're all interconnected. So if you want to affect something like this on the outside, on the inside of an organization, you cannot do it alone. And even outside, you can't do it alone. So it becomes very necessary. And there's a very famous saying, it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Now, this is about going far. And there's no other way but to be together and make it happen. So for me, all the way from day one, whether it was a small NGO in a village that I worked in, or when I'm leading a large international organization working with about 20 ministries in all the states in India here, all I realize is we all need to work together. So the only way to do that is to go beyond designations, go into roles, and define them, and empower people to really implement them. And I have found that that often gets far better and more results. So I think the leadership form of compete versus cooperate, so where to compete and where to cooperate. I think sometimes we spend too much of our egos, logos, into competition where they're not necessary. So I think for me, it has been a necessary thing to do. And I must say it's not easy to do because people come with their own trainings, with their own perspectives. And very often people feel threat perceptions about somebody working with me on my topic, sharing credit, taking responsibility. But I think slowly it dawns on them. And therefore one strategy, one that for me has worked is to always have a tandem. That there are always two people working on a topic, which leads to a lot of diversity of thoughts, actions. If one is not around, the other one can pull the boat. So for me, I think that has been the experience so far. Thank you.
Very, very powerful, very relevant. I think a round of applause on that particular share as well. Shaila, so again, let's talk about, balance, and between balancing, urgency for change with the patience required to listen deeply, and respectfully, because I think that's something that is something that you've been very dear to your heart. So again, would love to have your insights on that aspect as well.
Well, thank you for the question, because it's really fundamental to the work that we do. So anybody going into the field of social work obviously does so with a desire to bring change and improve lives. People enter with preconceived notions with the best of intentions, but the realities on the ground are often very different. And while it's important to have goals, a mission, a vision of what you want to change, what you want to achieve, you must learn to listen to the challenges of community. You have to earn their trust. You have to understand their problems. You have to work side by side, and you have to create a shared vision. So when I started in 2008 in Asra, I literally used to kick my chappals off, wade through this nadi, which was just unimaginable, and sit on charpais with the grandparents. I would ask them where they came from, why they had come, what they wanted for their children, what their dreams were, and actually, it turned out to be very similar to how we all live. They wanted better homes, they wanted electricity, sanitation, water. They wanted to put food on the table. So now, education at that point was a very low priority, but we had to work with them on all the other things and then to gradually show them the importance of education, because that meant deferred earning. So it was really, it was a journey to earn the trust of the community, the parents, and the children.
Now, you have been successful persons in different fields, and I don't even wish to remind people what those fields are. You might say something about it. You must have been good learners to have got to these positions in a very competitive world. Acquired some skills which have really proven to be very valuable for yourself. And I want to ask each of you at this time, what is the new capability that you're trying to learn and why? Or which of the capabilities that you have, which you've been very good at, you want to improve much further and why? What do you want to learn now? What are you learning now new and why?
First of all, thank you.
And you
sir.
can say now in the context of if you want to mention your work, you could do that.
Absolutely. First of all, I'd really like to thank OS. What I really try to, and what you sort of really brought about is quite important. Like the world is changing, technology is rapidly changing. I work in a company where, sometimes even I have to continuously learn what Google has released last night, because tomorrow regulators and stakeholders will ask me 10 questions about, how this technology could be used in a bad way. But one thing that sort of really, and I'll position it back to school because it's the theme of something that has been carried forward through this year, is accountability about your decisions and about that thing. And I think that's something that we talk less about, as we are entering this geopolitical world. Accountability and responsibility about your decisions. At school you were not. This was not a subject. It was just something that you sort of took on. And as we sort of enter into this new world where things are rapidly changing, I would think technology will scale a lot of things, but human will still have the judgment and will still be responsible for those actions. So I think deep diving a lot more into taking accountability, taking responsibility, ethics, I think are far more important in today's world. And I think to your point, believing in something and standing for something is even more important today than it has ever been, because it's really changing, geopolitics, geoeconomics, technology are taking us in a world where, things might not be the same tomorrow.
So that's good. You're saying is that, and you're Google, man, really at the state of the art. I'm just learning how to use ChatGPT at the moment. ChatGPT, beginner completely.
Gemini.
You can go much further than that. As you said, taking responsibility and for doing the right thing, ethics.
Correct.
I think this is something that the whole world, and you're mentioning people in technology, are waking up to. What is the right thing to do? Not doing it right and efficiently, but what is the right thing to do?
Correct.
So how are you? You said you already discovered it, but how do you keep reminding yourself or asking yourself, am I doing the right thing?
Sir, any technology, so I'll talk about my personal case where I sit in the value chain, right? Like engineers develop things and they might develop things because at Google you're sort of encouraged to do things, in your free time to develop something that might change the world, right? But my role is to sort of keep them accountable of, is it going to be used in a harmful way or in a right way? So it's about asking the tough questions to those engineers. Sometimes they will really, spend their Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays sort of deep diving into something and come up with something extremely game changing. But, having the ability to challenge them and saying, okay, how could it do harm to the world? Why did we develop this? And how could it sort of be used incorrectly? I think that's super important. Another thing that I really took from your talk, which was really, a big part of my role is sort of listening to customers. We just don't want to develop things just for the heck of it. A big part of developing things is sort of listening to why we are doing certain things. So when it comes to responsibility and accountability, it's asking the tough questions throughout the chain. Whatever's being developed, is it being developed in the right way? We have something called the responsible AI framework, which, because we are speaking about artificial intelligence, so any technology that we develop, is sort of linked to, are we doing it in a fair way, accountable way, transparent way, and ethical way, right? So if the technology is not answering these 4 questions, it's my job to sort of kill it.
Okay. I want to welcome you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. What we're doing is the first question, which I'd already sent to you, is what is it that you are wishing to be better at now, capabilities, and why is that capability seeming to you to be a very important one? So he said about ethics, judging the right thing to do. So we're going to go in this way, you can listen to the others.
Thanks for that. Now, in terms of, so I should probably start by mentioning that I think if you look at my life's trajectory, which I will not go through, there are numerous paths which are because of Sanar, and there may be a few paths which perhaps may be in spite of. So if you see the titles that I hold, that really depends on whether I want to be social or antisocial. So if I want to be antisocial, I'm a professor at IIT Madras who specializes in mathematics. That shuts all conversation. If I want to be social, I say I am a professor at IIT Madras who specializes in artificial intelligence, and everybody wants to listen to me. With that as an incredibly, and I may just be, I don't know, I can verify this, but I may just be the only professor in the IIT system from Sanar. Is that correct? Maybe, to be verified. Given the vantage point that I am at, I would like to add one line about AI. There is an incredibly fundamental shift from a deterministic system, a deterministic world, to a probabilistic world. I won't use the word uncertain, I would use probability. So if you're studying probability, please study your lectures well. And that's a phenomenally fundamental shift. In that shift, the first question we should ask ourselves is, how do we design ourselves as human in an AI world? And given my sort of background in mathematics, and a couple of months ago, I gave a TEDx talk on this, my answer to that question, which may be sufficient, may be necessary but not necessarily sufficient, was that we need to develop to become pie-shaped humans. Pie-shaped humans. You know the mathematical symbol pi?
Yeah, okay.
As pie-shaped
22/7 or something, is it?
Yes, but
Okay.
the pie is, the top bar is broad thinking individuals who can see far and wide, who can connect disciplines. One vertical is a research mindset. And the second vertical is an entrepreneurial mindset. So numerous people who've built the previous world could perhaps be one or the other, and they've done an incredible job. But my claim is that AI effectively demands a full pie. Now, coming to the question in terms of skills, I believe I would reframe that a little bit to say, what's the mental model? See, in a previous world, what happened is you said, do this. In a probabilistic world, you would say, this is possibly how it is done. And there's a huge difference there.
I'm Ruby Garg. I'm a first generation entrepreneur. I'm into manufacturing of home appliances and with an experience of more than 25 years in this field. I'm a businesswoman and I'm MSME and I'm exporting. The question that you asked was the mindsets and the,
I'm sorry we couldn't display you getting the award.
sorry?
Wasn't there something about you getting the national award?
Yes, the awards.
Yes.
No,
yes.
yeah. So about the learnings, what I would like to learn now. So when I began my entrepreneurial journey, learning success for me was actually knowing about my product and the processes and the markets. But over time, I realized that it's not just, you cannot learn everything at one time. It's a process that one has to keep learning. And the first point that I want to focus on is adaptability. So for me, adaptability is very important because in my kind of business, there's a lot of automation, there's technology, and sustainability practices and customer expectations. They are changing rapidly all the time. So if I am not learning every day regularly, then my business, it is at a risk of becoming outdated. So success is not, learning is not really a choice, but it is a skill which you have to develop. And it has to be intentional and continuous. Second thing that I'm focusing and I'm trying to learn now is decision making during uncertainty. Because the times are so uncertain and everything with Google and with new inventions and automations. As an entrepreneur, we have to take risks and we have to our ideas. So everything is very, you have to take decisions at the right time. And sometimes they may not be, you may not have the exact information, the correct information for about your business or the current scenario. So you learn from your mistakes, you make mistakes, and you move forward with confidence.
Under her stewardship, the Lalit Suri Hospitality Group became one of the leading privately owned domestic hotel brands in India. Dr. Suri has been conferred with the Order of the Rising Sun.
And your family for the last 50 years. Conservative household, but how did your father send you to Sana? Was it to make a man out of her or not? And she's the eldest daughter, huh?
Well, that's actually a very interesting question. When my father sent me to Sana, it was certainly not with the idea of making a man out of me. He had just come in from Pakistan. He was born in Lailpur. My mother was from Rawalpindi. They got married here. My father was the eldest of 11 siblings. Lost his father a few years after independence. So he had this huge responsibility on him. And he didn't want his children to actually go through the trials and tribulations that he was going through. So there was a very dear friend of his who lived very close to where we lived. And through him, and he was an erstwhile army person, through him, we were sent to Sana. But you know, Vivek, when I look back retrospectively, he was preparing me for something that I was not aware of at that time. And he truly did make a man out of me. Because when I actually entered this world of hospitality, which was so male-dominated, I realized that my grounding in that school, and I'm grateful to my parents for having sent me there, my grounding in this fantastic institution really held me instead. So in fact, he did make a man out of me. In fact, I want to put a caveat there, not that men are any better than women, but not that that is true. But when you put it into context of reality, I had to fight and stand on my own feet, and I did that. And that's thanks to the grounding of this fantastic school and my parents.
Wow. You know, thank you. I was very reluctant to say man out of you because I thought that would be very insulting, to be honest with you. And I saw, so I've coined it as wow man.
I let you get away with that.
Okay, as I said, one of the tallest business leaders produced by Sana, second lady president of FICCI, Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce, not FICCI ladies organization. Huh? She was the main one, a total male bastion. And after Naina Lal Kidwai, Jyoti followed successively after her. Unbelievable.
Also, the first one from hospitality. There's never been a president which has represented hospitality before me and to date.
To date, is that right?
Date.
Okay, so it was always about manufacturing. Anyway.
Always about manufacturing.
So tell us, what qualities did you imbibe in Sanar, the never given spirit? I mean, you went through some very, very challenging times, as did many of us. Unfortunately, it was good for me. COVID. I shifted to the hills in COVID, which has changed my life. But apart from that, you went through some very stressful times. I was there with you, being on your board, and you've come out shining. Opportunity out of adversity. Can you tell us how Sanar, how you did all this?
Well, again, going back to the male bastion, there was I, the second woman president. Well, we're almost 90 years, almost 100 years of the organization, which is FICCI. And there have only been 3 women presidents, and I'm one of them. So I'm extremely proud of that. But here again, I come back to the grounding that I got. You mentioned about adversity and how all of us went through it. But even before COVID came in, my first adversity or my first difficult situation in life was in 2006 when I lost Lalit. I was the joint managing director of the company, but suddenly to fill into a pair of shoes, which was so larger than life, was absolutely ominous. But I stepped into it with the never give in spirit. I held my head high. I ground myself into my hard work. Again, the resilience that the school teaches us. Somebody was mentioning about how we go through a daily routine. The routine of getting up at 6 o'clock with Rouser and then going to bed at 9 o'clock at night, but not a minute. Arun mentioned that his mother said, why would you get bored? The reason why he felt bored when he was at home was because in school, you didn't have even a second to yourself. You were constantly moving from one to the other. So that actually held me in good stead. And I moved very, very slowly. Again, never give in, the spirit, and keep striving up Sergeant Tilly's hill. Though you may not win, you'll yet come in if you stick it still. And that's what actually kept me going, and how I moved out that adverse situation. And then, of course, COVID came. COVID, of course, hurt everyone, but it hurt the hospitality industry the most. We started our financial year with 0 in the bank, and I thought I would never get out of this. But we did, and once again, it was resilience, it was perseverance, about keeping your feet on the ground, not allowing adversity to get the better of you, and slowly got out of it. Financial crunches, I've handled 2 of them, and I've very successfully come out one right now. Just to share with all of you that while I've known Vivek for the longest time, I've seen him grow. He's also a director on our board, and thank you very much for being there. So Vivek, grounding of the school really paid me a huge, I would say that a lot of what I was able to do was because of being in Sanar and my parents. But I'm going to come to you now. I need to ask you.
I thought I was the only one to question.
No. You can't get away with just asking the questions, you know. I'm going to put you in a
There's no
spot as
fire
well.
here. There's a
No.
fireside chat.
Imagine the fire. That's another thing that you were taught in school, imagination. But you've had a very long and successful tenure yourself as an outstanding professional in your field of chartered accountancy. 45 years. 20 years with PwC. How were your formative years in Sana a contributor to your success? Now be honest about it, okay? Please.
See, okay, thank you for that. Now one is towards one's sunset of one's life. You are far from it.
Don't say that.
No, I love my sunsets up in the hills. Anyway, you know, Sana gives you such a basic grounding. It obviously doesn't teach you accounts, it doesn't teach you tax, it doesn't teach you structuring, but it gives you such a basic grounding that is so important in life going forward that, okay, first of all, let me start with, and everybody has said this earlier, so I'll be very quick about it. It's a super brand. First of all, Sanar is a super brand. You wear that badge on you with pride. And your ambience, the way you talk, the way you have the confidence which you talk, itself steals the show. I felt it like that. And I'll just give you an example. I worked for 16 years in my grandfather and father's CA firm. Small local businesses, etc. Till I saw the writing on the wall that, you know, these big six those days, I think they were, which are now big four. So I said, well, you have to look at something like this. So I started looking at trying to get international collaboration for the CA thing. Anyway, that didn't work out, but I was given an offer I couldn't refuse, and they stole me away from my firm. So I joined what Coopers and Lybrand, which is now PricewaterhouseCoopers. And everybody there said, this guy from this local firm, what does he know? And 16 years I had lost of what these guys had learned internationally. I was in a local firm. But I soon came to realize that I am a Sanarian. And I shone over them within months. So what I'm saying is that because of the background, because of the confidence, and as one person said, the gravitas, teamwork. Teamwork is so important. And those guys were all very individualistic. And here I played my Sana card of, you know, working together, relationships, very important. And that's how I was able to build relationships with the people there, that they started looking up to me rather than those who had worked in that multinational firm for many years.
So the school is 179 years old, and during the life of the school, a lot has happened. And we have many eminent old Sanarians who are doing well in all walks of lives. So the first thing is to have a podium, to have a place where everyone who has been to Sana comes together, and more importantly, that we contribute. We contribute to what's happening not only in the school, but what's happening in the nation. And especially those who are younger, for example, even those who are in school, giving them direction, those who've just passed out, helping them through college life, and those who are graduates and postgraduates, helping them to negotiate the world of work. So essentially, it is about sharing skills, it is about mentorship, and definitely it is about camaraderie. My message is very simple, and I do wear two hats. One, of course, as headmaster, the other as an old Sanarian. Now, my first message is to give back as much as possible, and your time, your talent, your competencies, your skills, so that those children who are in school today know about the world outside and know about where to focus themselves and their careers. That's the first one. The second I would say is do visit, do interact with all the children, and do your very best in whatever field of life you're in. Never give in. Thank you.
Objective is primarily to get everybody together. the people of elder generations who have done exceedingly well in their life, people of generations in the middle who are doing well, and people of the younger generations who are just either out of school or they're into their formative years and are looking for direction. So you have a segment which is looking for direction. You have a segment which is in a position to give direction. Get them under one roof in one place. Let them interact with each other and let them know our fraternity has such strength within that you don't need to look outside. You will find your mentor, you will find your guide within. That's what we are trying to do here. It's been overwhelming and very encouraging. The numbers which have turned up, especially the younger batches, it has really, made us feel that what we set out to do was actually the right thing because the message has gone through and the people who we intended this entire summit towards are here to benefit from it. So I think it's been overwhelming and I'm actually elated to see the response.
It's so fabulous being here, meeting people from who we went to school with 20 years ago, our seniors, our juniors. Some of them we've not even met. We have very senior scenarians here and meeting them first time, chatting with them, learning from their experiences. Apart from, yes, the panel inside is so informative and really invigorating, but it's just been so fabulous connecting with this community of our scenarians and really makes me embody the spirit of never give in. It's inspiring to see the stories of people who started from the same grassroots that you did and reached such great heights, and makes us want to reach there as well. And it's great to be connecting with them while learning from their stories, but also on in front learning in person as well.
I think that it's absolutely fabulous. I mean, at the end of the day, we are a very simultaneously unguided and guided generation. We have ChatGPT, Perplexity, but at the end of the day, you need a human touch. And we are losing that human touch. So I'm very glad that the alumni of my school enabled us to at least, meet each other. I mean, when you have such a fabulous set of alumni, one needs an opportunity to meet all of them. It may not even be about hardship. At the end of the day, it's just about experience. All of these people, they've lived, even if not very long lives, they've lived such experienced lives, such cultured lives. If you can walk away having taken anything away from it, even a little bit of wisdom, I think that's more than a day's worth of learning. It makes it worth it to be here.
It is pretty inspiring to see people who have been very successful and from our school only to see the potential of a school, and this potential we can see like how can we extract that potential from a school and the benefits and be like them or better. It gives us teaching, it gives us morale, it gives us aim also to see like these people have achieved and we can achieve too.
It was wonderful about knowing the experiences, about their past lives in Sana and many other things. So they taught us, like the person, I was inspired by one person. He was speaking about his army career. One was speaking about his climbing career. So I was very much inspired by them. Now I'm thinking that I should also go in army. So they inspired me. So if you come here, you get many connections here. You meet many different kind of people, many experienced people from your batch, from your house. So it's wonderful here.